This video is going to be a bit of a snapshot and a look at our current culture and times, and it's going to focus on a essay written by a young woman who said that she's never having kids and neither are her friends. Hey everyone, before I jump into the meat and potatoes of this video, I have a quick ask from this side of the camera. Please smash that like button. And if you haven't, please consider subscribing to the channel. And now on to our feature presentation. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Big Discussions 76. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. Please like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. And with that, I will jump right in. Well, hey everyone, I meant to do a live stream on this piece in addition to another one, but based upon time, or should I say the availability of time or the lack of availability of time, and this time of the year where we are rushing to get things done before going on holiday vacations, there just wasn't time to do a live stream on this. So I was thinking about it, and I said, you know what? I could just do two short pre-records. Shout out to my brother Amal Dunbar. Not everything needs to be crammed into one offering. So this video is going to focus on a piece that I saw when I was booting up my Microsoft Edge. You know, I was thinking, well, for one thing, I've become fascinated with a lot of things. Climate is one of them. Population decline is one of them. And the changing environments in our society and altered social norms. Those are all things that I've become interested in. And as a writer, one of the things you do is you capture the times and you talk about the times. Speaking of which, I plan to use a major chunk of this holiday season to map out the final steps to my book project, The Engineers, a Western New York Basketball Story, and then in the next year, push it forward to completion. So I'm not talking about it anymore, and so that it's done. But one of the major themes of the book, it's a sports related book, a sports and a life related book. One of the major themes is environments and what role do environments play in our lives, and what role or what roles do changed environments play in our lives versus where ourselves and others expect us to land and end up versus where we land and end up, and how do factors and people in our environments impact our life's journeys, and how do they affect where those journeys go versus where they don't go. So right now I'm reading Aaron Clary's book, Enjoy the Decline. I hope to interview him in the new year, but I think this all folds into that. We have the election coming up next year, and there are just a lot of things going on that people are unaware of, and that people, well, they're just not aware of, and so they don't know, and they don't know what's going on. But one of the things facing a lot of westernized countries, modern westernized countries, is population decline. And I've talked about this a lot on my science and technology channel. A major part of biology is ecology and reproductive biology, but also a lot of world leaders, even though they're not talking about it, they're looking at this. And well, there are a lot of parties looking at this, even though they're not talking about it. A lot of people here in the YouTube streets, they're talking about it. Black, white, yellow, beige, multiple sectors, different sectors, they're talking about it, even though people outside of these digital spaces are not talking about it. though I suspect our world leaders, well, they know what's going on. But I saw an interesting piece in my Microsoft Edge browser, and since I'm fascinated with this, I've speculated that the AI might be sending me more and more of these articles. But anyway, I thought it was worth addressing here since during the holiday season, well, this is something that comes up in many families, especially with many boomers still being here and maybe very few greatest and silent generation people still being here. This comes up during the holiday season, around the Christmas table, around the Thanksgiving table. A lot of older generations are looking and wondering what's going on. Well, a young lady wrote a piece and she tells the world what's going on. So I'm going to read that and then I'm going to wrap this video up. It's a short read. Before I jump into the article, I want to revisit something I discussed with Diamond David Williams. The interview is in my catalog, so if you haven't, please go take a look at it. We talked about a lot in that hour. We talked about money and investing and options trading, but we also talked about environments and behavior. So in a early phase or an early part of that interview, I asked David about why Dr. Amos Wilson was one of his inspirations. And David basically said that one of Dr. Amos Wilson's teachings was that our environments are established and curated for us. So everything we're seeing around us, well, the majority of what we're seeing around us has been predetermined and designed and intentionally created. So we may be going through life thinking that things are happening by chance and that it's unfortunate that these things are happening, and we may wonder why these things are happening or why we're getting specific outcomes. But according to what David said, one of Dr. Amos Wilson's key teachings was that our environment is curated. So it's not a coincidence that certain things unfold and transpire in the way that they do. So I just wanted to say that. So uh, let's get on to the article. Now, this is from The Insider. It is entitled, I'm Never Having Kids. All my Gen Z friends agree. We won't be parents in a world like this. I may try to leave this link below in the description box. YouTube, if they think your links are spam, they will go ahead and poach those links out. I learned that this year, but you can always Google this title and you will probably be able to find some version of it online. This was written by Tessa Latifi. This was published 4 days ago. There is a picture of the woman, I think, who wrote this. Well, no, she didn't write it, but it's based upon her. Her name is Brooklyn Farley. It says Brooklyn Farley has decided she won't be having children. Okay. So in reading this, I'm not telling people what to do, and I'm not telling people what they should do or shouldn't do. For me, this is just a snapshot of the times. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. I think when I read the last passage, well, not the last passage, but the last passage I read from Liza Mundy's The Richer Sex, I guess I put a little too much personal commentary in it. And someone took exception with that. So I'm going to attempt to remain objective and impartial here. Let the audience decide. All right. These are the main points. You see this a lot in articles now. Brooklyn Farley is a 25-year-old massage therapist in Texas who's decided not to have kids. Growing up, she thought she'd become a mother, but the realities of the world changed her mind. Because of the economy and the climate crisis, she's instead focused on her partner and her pets. This ass told to essay is based on a conversation with Brooklyn Farley, a 25-year-old massage therapist based in Texas. It's been edited for length and clarity. All right. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a mother, but now that I'm an adult, I don't want kids. I decided I didn't want to be a parent during college when I realized how hopeless the future seemed, from the economy to the climate. So let me stop right there. So the climate, I've began I've begun taking my own look at this whole climate debate over on my science and technology channel, Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. If you're not subbed over there, please consider subbing. So this is a debate, even though certain parts of it are covered in by the mainstream news outlets, there are scientists on both sides. And I'll just stop that there. But one of the things, one of the faces of the climate alarmist side is the great Al Gore, our former vice president under President William Jefferson Clinton. There is footage, you could find it here on YouTube, of Al Gore saying that the oceans are boiling and that our energy usage is equivalent to 60 megaton bombs going off. So, yeah, with that type of rhetoric, with that type of discourse, that will make people who have not seen the data and who are not educated on the topic, that type of talk will make people very, very afraid. And when I read this article, I thought back to when I was in K through 12 and I first heard about global warming and acid rain. And as a youngster back then, I became afraid. But when you think about the oceans boiling and 60 megaton bombs going off in our atmosphere, take a look around. Look around and see, are the body of waters around you boiling? Are there 60 megaton bombs going off around you? And also ask yourself, what are the consequences of that type of rhetoric and discourse? All right. And are the results we're seeing, are these intended consequences of that rhetoric and discourse? I also don't believe in the American dream enough to try to chase it while raising another human, and neither do my friends. The members of Gen Z I know tend to believe the American dream less. I'm sorry. The members of Gen Z I know tend to believe in the American dream less than the generations before us. Most of my friend group just doesn't see a path in the future where we have a good, stable job and can afford both a house and a family. Yesterday, I was just listening to a really good podcast by the Words and Numbers podcast about the American dream and what's affordable and what's considered a quote unquote good life. I might leave that below in the description box. James and Anthony, I interviewed them here. They tend to go long form, but if you click on that link, if I forget, you can go to their channel. It's Words and Numbers. It's called the Words and Numbers podcast. They tend to go long form. It's a very, very good discussion that they have on what's a reasonable life and what are reasonable expectations and what are reasonable expenses, even in this current time we're living in. All right. We've seen the crash of the economy, how there are fewer jobs than applicants, and salaries that aren't rising to meet inflation levels. Climate change is disastrous, and the prices of daily goods just keep getting higher and higher. What about this situation is supposed to make young people want to have kids? There's a picture of Whoopi. I think it's unrelated to this. All right. So my generation is different from my parents' generation. We know that. Yeah, we know that the different generations have different values and outlooks on the world. My mom believed that if she worked hard, she could afford a house with a white picket fence and 2 kids and 2.5 kids. That's just not how we think. We don't even know if the planet is going to sustain us into our old age. So it doesn't make sense to me to plan on expanding our families. I would encourage you all, if you're sitting around the Christmas table and talk of bloodlines comes up and those kinds of things, and there are fewer younger people running around in this house, if you watch this, keep this in mind and mention this, or even send this video to those people saying that would help out a lot as well. My mom was a single mom until she got remarried when I was 8. My parents know how I feel about kids, and their advice is to wait to make my decision until I'm sure. I'm 25, and even though that's a normal age to get pregnant, if one of my friends were to tell me they were pregnant right now, I would want to congratulate them, but would just be thinking of the financial burden. Gen Z can't even afford to raise themselves, let alone other people. So this subtitle says, I don't see the point in having kids in the world as it is. Many people call us Zoomers, but honestly, a lot of us are doomers. We feel pessimistic about the future and don't want to subject our children to it. I always thought I would have kids because it seemed like the next step on the path of life. I just figured I'd grow up, go to school, get a job, get married, and then have kids. But that was before I understood reality. Now my goal is to make enough money for myself, my partner, and my pets. I want us to be able to live comfortably enough to save, to spend on what we want, and to pay our bills. We rent a house right now and plan on doing that for the foreseeable future. We also want to get married. Now, this article doesn't specify what gender her partner is, but well, that shouldn't matter. Why did I mention that? That doesn't matter at this point. This subtitle says, I've never felt baby fever. The idea of motherhood seems exhausting. I don't know how moms make it work, especially when they have jobs too. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so on days when I forgot my lunch or needed something, she could drop everything and come to school to help me. I can't imagine having that kind of freedom. Even if I was financially stable and could count on a job to keep me totally comfortable, I don't think I'd be able to balance that with motherhood, which is already a full-time job. A lot of my friends are instead focused on trying to make the world a better place. We spend our time calling our representatives to demand legislative change, going to climate justice protests, or trying to elevate the social causes we believe in. I often think about the world that was passed down to me and what kind of world I will in turn pass on to future generations. And then this subtitle says, I might be more open to having kids if things were different. My schedule right now is flexible. Since I'm a massage therapist, I mainly work afternoons and evenings, but I don't know how I'd afford childcare while working if I became a mother. There's not enough time in the day for people to balance both their lives and their jobs. So it doesn't surprise me that birth rates are declining. What I appreciate about Gen Z is that we're willing to imagine a better world and work for it. We want better work-life balance and a planet focused on fixing the climate crisis. Unless things change drastically, such as people taking climate change more seriously and improving wealth distribution, I don't see myself ever changing my mind. All right. That link is below in the description box. Well, it is for now. If you want to look it up and if YouTube takes this out, this is entitled, I'm Never Having Kids. All my Gen Z friends agree. We won't be parents in a world like this. All right, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Again, I'm going to be very, very careful about my personal commentary and thoughts right now, but I thought that this is a good snapshot of what's happening in our society right now and the world and what people are concerned about. And the generations are different. Now, interestingly, a friend, I'll call her a friend, who is older than me, and she has grown children. So whoever is watching this, okay, when people watch videos, they say, oh, he's talking about me. He's talking about me. So suspend judgment. I'm not saying the name. So I'm keeping this anonymous on purpose. So if I'm talking and you think I'm talking about you, I'm not necessarily talking about you. But this friend is a little older, and she has 3 grown children. And she told me one time, Anwar, I don't know that I would want to bring a child into this world. So there are a lot of people looking at this world and today's world with dread and with fear and with pessimism. So this is just something to keep in mind when those discussions come up around the dinner table about, well, we have the election coming up next year. Everyone buckle up. 2024 may be a year unlike one we've ever seen before. So that's just an FYI. But this is important to keep in mind. Let me slow down. This is important to keep in mind when these conversations come up around the dinner table, around the holidays, amongst the generations. All right, because a lot of the older generations, they watch MSNBC, they have older values, older ways of thinking, and they don't know necessarily what's going on in the world today. They don't necessarily want to know. They just wonder why it doesn't look like their world 50 years ago. So I'm going to wrap this up here. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And this is me and some coworkers, some male coworkers. We were talking about this 2 weeks ago over dinner and drinks, and one brought up finances as a reason why the population is, well, at least in this country, why the population is teetering on collapse. And also, that's our political class. They're not talking about it as openly, but that's part of what this immigration is about. The economy needs bodies, it needs taxpayers, it needs people paying in. And so without people, we don't have an economy and we don't have a country. So that's another part of this, or that's another part of that complicated and polarizing and emotional discussion. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section about any of this. This is Big Discussions 76. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusef Dunbar. This is my original channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate something to the channel, that information is below in the description box. You can also leave a super thanks. If something was said here that resonates with you, please consider signing up for my Big Words LLC newsletter. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I'm also a writer and a soon-to-be author with 2 blogs. Yeah, with 2 blogs and a book project on the way. I don't know if I said all that. That's a part of my ending spiel. So with that, everyone, hey, happy holidays. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.